because of the doubt. And so I decided last night, it's happening today. And upon hearing you speak today, I know and I'm living what you're saying. I understand the process.
Yeah.
It's exciting because the analogy in my head is, okay, there's money in the bank and then there's money in the vortex. And it's just a matter of time before it ends up in the bank. And that's true on every subject
and
in my life.
Oh, the fun I'm going to have in the process of it turning from vibrational stuff to physical stuff.
Yes.
That's fun. Sometimes you think you just want it to get dumped in there,
Right.
and then you'll begin your journey. But the journey is the dumping process.
Right. Because I realized I have a connection to infinite intelligence where it's like I don't need to be in the chair because I can just ask the question and it eventually comes to me.
Yes.
Either in meditation or throughout my day or when I listen to your CDs. And then I decided I just want to get in the hot seat at least for the pleasure or the joy of the experience. And that was a different perspective for me because in the past it always had to be to get something done. And now it's...
That's a big difference, isn't it?
Yes.
When Esther wakened this morning, the word that was in her mind was satisfaction. So as she was getting ready, she was pondering what satisfaction is. Isn't there satisfaction in clarity? And isn't there satisfaction in love? And isn't there satisfaction in fun? So when you think about satisfaction, can you feel how that word sounds like a blending or a closing of the gap, the becoming one with who you really are, going home, that returning to who you really are? Because if you want to get in the chair to show off that you can get in the chair, that's a whole different thing. If you want to get in the chair because you're urgent about something that you don't understand, that's a whole different thing. But if you're looking for any experience for the satisfaction of it, for the pleasure of it, now you're looking for it for the alignment of it. In other words, it's a really good tool to put you more easily into alignment. It takes the angst out of it, and it also takes the effort out of it. Really good.
Right, because I was experiencing some contrast the night before I came, and I realized, I knew in that moment that my point of attraction would yield eventually manifestations I did not desire. And at the same time, I realized I just want to be in alignment because it feels better than this. And in a short period of time, I coached myself where I was feeling fine by the time.
It's interesting. We like the words that you chose, and we want to comment on them because you said, I was living some contrast, and you made it sound like unwanted contrast. And we want to tweak that just a little bit by acknowledging I was living some beneficial contrast. And then you said, and I realized that if I kept focusing in the way that I was, that it was going to turn into more that I did not want. Or you also could say, and I realized that this beneficial contrast was going to lead me to something really wanted. Because contrast is not a bad thing. Contrast is a clarifying thing. And sometimes, even when you are in that satisfying alignment with home, as our friend wanted to call it here today, your inner being may lead you into some contrast in order to help you clarify. Because think about it. When we talk about path of least resistance, you're understanding that path of least resistance is the path from where you are to where you want to be, the least resistant path from where you are to where you want to be. And when we remind you that there will always be resistance on your path as long as you're in this physical body, and that's a good thing, that's why you're here. Contrast and therefore resistance are part of the clarifying process, yes? Also part of the interesting process, also part of the satisfying process. Because if it was just a straight line, all blank between here and there, you would be really bored. You came for the texture and the contrast and the interesting things about this time-space reality. So, path of least resistance, resistance along your path, every piece of it you've put there. But of course you did, so what? That's not an indictment on your imperfection. That's a compliment about you being out here and living life, knowing what you do want, knowing what you don't want. Every time you know what you don't want, you put some contrast on your path, which helps you know what you do want. But the contrast on your path doesn't mean you can't get there. It just means you're going to have a more interesting journey to it. Does that make sense to you? Contrast is not a bad thing. So your inner being knows what the path of least resistance is. And so sometimes on your way from where you are to where you want to be, you're in the receiving mode. Your inner being is calling you through your resistant trail, your interesting, delicious, interesting trail of path of resistance, and bringing you on the path of least resistance. And sometimes when you're moving through some of those turns, you say, oh, I'm in some resistance. And we say, of course you are. There's resistance all over your path, but you've got guidance. There's resistance all over the path. There's contrasting things everywhere. Because how are you going to clarify what you want? Do you really just want somebody to lead you by the nose to where you want to be? Don't say yes. Or do you want to follow this path and firm up some of your decisions and acknowledge some contrast and state it in a stronger way and feel the benefit of this delicious contrast that's helping you to clarify? Jerry and Esther drove around in the monster bus for 10 years, towing a car behind, and they were mostly on the major highways because the bus was so big it only wanted to go where big things went. And so they couldn't get back on the mountain roads where the switchbacks were too tight for them. And now Esther is enjoying her little short van where she can take it in places where the big one didn't go. It's more interesting. Sometimes you want to get out on the road and just wail to where you're going, because sometimes your dominant intention is just getting somewhere else. But that's not what you came to live in this physical experience. You just didn't come to get somewhere else. You came to savor all the twists and turns and delights of the tapestry and the texture of this beautiful time-space reality. And so that's why we started talking about step 5. Step 1 is ask. Contrast helps you do it. You can't stop asking no matter what. You can try to stop asking, but you won't succeed, so don't even bother. You will always be asking for more. Step 2 is this vortex. Source is in there, receiving all the things you're asking for and becoming it vibrationally instantaneously. When you ask, it is vibrationally given. Step 3 is you got to find a way to warm up to it, to become a vibrational mix with it, to get into the receiving mode so that these vibrations and thoughts can begin to turn to the things of your life experience, because you're here to create in this time-space reality where you get to realize the full manifestation of things. And then step 4 is you just get really good at that. You just get really good at getting out ahead of your vibration and not being so responsive to conditions, in more control, mastery. Step 4 is the mastery. And then step 5 is our favorite step. That's where you're moving through contrast and you're not mad at yourself because you understand that you're on this perfect path and that your inner being is guiding you through some contrasts for interest and clarification and adding to the details of what you want. You're master creators. You're not beginning creators. You're not just dabbling with little pieces of clay. You are masterful creators. You have the ability to orchestrate situations where several wanted things are converging simultaneously for your personal satisfaction. This is big time. This is big time creative league. You're the leading edge creators of the universe out here manifesting into the fullness of things, you see. These are good times.
That's what Jesus meant when he said, ye are gods, in John 10. That's what it means to me.
Yes, you're utilizing the energy that creates worlds for your masterful creating. And you got to understand that you were part of it all the way along the way. You've never stopped being that. But sometimes while you're here in this physical body, you pinch it off in your misunderstanding. Because you want to say, well, that is a creator or that is God, and I am humbly not. And we say, you're not humbly not. You're not that. You are creators. You are creators. That's why you're here. That's why you're here. Time to start having fun with it. Yeah. Enough?
When you were talking about the dual perspectives of the inner being and the human personality.
The wholeness of who you are.
Right.
The source part of you and the leading edge part of you converging masterfully.
Because my understanding of what people call ego is that human personality that includes the sum total of
nothing would be better than an egotistical being connected with source energy.
Right.
Knowing your power, expecting things to turn out well for you. And the way we described your inner being earlier is about as egotistical as it gets. Abraham, please come down here where I am. No. Come where I am. Please come down here. I can't get up there. No. Figure it out. We're being a little harsh in our attempt to be a little funny, but we want you to know that your inner being is not going to become less than what you have caused your inner being to be. And isn't that a lovely thing? Yeah.
I love you and appreciate you.
Yeah.